We're going to call our meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, September 28th. It is 9 o'clock in the morning. And we're going to ask our Pastor Robert Bush from Faith Baptist Church to come up and say the invocation. And Commissioner Jeff Rawls will do the pledge. And if you've noticed, the flags have been moved out front. So keep that in mind. Thank you. All stand if you're able to do so.
Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we're so thankful that we can meet together, Lord. We're thankful for the freedoms that we have in this country and for these, Lord, leaders that you've appointed to these positions. God, we just pray for their wisdom this morning, Lord. We pray, Lord, that you might give them wisdom, that you might give them softened hearts and yielded wills. We pray, Lord, that the business would be conducted smoothly, Lord, and everything that needs to be discussed, Lord, would be done so, Lord, in an effective manner. We just pray your blessing on it. We thank you, we praise you, we love you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if you would today, please keep Commissioner Adamczak and his family in your prayers. He's going through quite a time with his family right now. Next item on our agenda is the presentation declaring October Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Commissioner Pickens, I've asked you to read that. Is there people here from Lee Conley? All right, I will meet you down here to the front.
Okay, Putnam County Proclamation number 2021, Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Whereas domestic violence is a crime that impacts all citizens of Putnam County, and whereas the impact of domestic violence is wide-ranging, taking a dramatic toll on the criminal justice system, law enforcement, the healthcare community, and society as a whole, and whereas each year in Putnam County, estimated 1 in 4 women and 1 in 9 men are victims of domestic violence that would translate to 13,000 individuals affected in our county. And whereas it is vital for our community to support the victims of domestic violence and assist in their grave financial, physical, and psychological losses, and to pose legal sanctions against perpetrators and personal violence. And whereas the Lee Conley House is the only domestic violence center in Putnam County, providing 24-hour service, counseling to victims and their families, and has been awarded certification through the Florida Department of Children and Families. And whereas the Putnam County Board of County Commissioners urges all citizens to actively participate and in support all programs sponsored by the Lee Conley House, therefore assisting in the elimination of domestic violence in our community. Now for there it be proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Florida, October 2021 is designated as Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Putnam County to participate in planned activities benefiting the Lee Conley House in its mission to provide shelter and support services to victims of domestic violence and their families. Done, ordered, and adopted this 28th day of September 2021. Mr. Chairman, I move we adopt this proclamation.
Proper motion by Commissioner Pickens.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Rawls. Further discussion on the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. Thank you very much.
Usually, I'm the one that speaks, but since Joe's here today and he is a board member, I'm going to ask him just to say a few words about Lee Conley House and hopefully y'all can get a different perspective.
Sure. Well, I'd expect it, but I appreciate that. So I've had the honor to sit on the board of directors for the Lee Conley House for about the last 3 years, and I can certainly tell you that this past year has been a challenge going on the 2 years. Fundraising has come to a relative screeching halt, and we are really struggling to continue the services that we provide for countless Putnam County residents through the Lee Conley House. If I had to identify an organization that the Sheriff's Office works most closely with and depends upon the most, it is certainly the Lee Conley House, as we work hand in hand helping our survivors of domestic violence in Putnam County, and even work to increase those services, such as a new program we have stood up at the Sheriff's Office to through the assistance to Lee Conley House, which is an early intervention, trying to catch the warning signs of domestic violence and catch those indications that it's a potential in a family and do some early interaction. That through the 2, 3 o'clock in the mornings, warm handoffs of domestic violence victims to the Lee Conley House so that they get the immediate services, walking them through their domestic violence injunctions and seeing through for the victim. But not only that, through other programs, Lee Conley House, holding the batterer accountable through batterers intervention, batterer accountability programs. The services go on and on and on, but certainly there is no way that the Sheriff's Office can handle and provide the service we do to our domestic violence victims without our partnership with the Lee Conley House. I gave the number in our board meeting the other day. I believe last year we handled 290 cases of domestic violence and 290 calls for service with domestic violence. Some of those involve multiple victims. So certainly it is a challenge in this county and any other, but domestic violence is a crime that is not a private family issue. It's a community issue. It affects the community, it affects the children, and it's generational. So without interventions in place, such as what we're lucky in Putnam County to have as the Lee Conley House, our citizens would be in a far worse place. So I want to thank Lori as our executive director, all the other board members, all the volunteers, victims advocates that work every day hand in hand with the Sheriff's Office to fight for survivors of domestic violence. Thank you. Yep.
Well, no,
Get a little closer to her.
Okay.
Get up front.
Well, I'm just saying.
Pretty close.
Y'all here?
I think so.
We're
We're good, we're good, we're good.
Come on, girls. These are two of our advocates.
Room down here. I'm gonna stand up on
Look,
this
see,
side.
you're trying to take spots from them. Yeah. You get there?
I'm good.
Stand on the chair.
All right, next, thank you very much, Lee Conley House, and the work that you do for Putnam County. Next on our presentation is Julianne Young, who's going to give us project updates, so hang on to your seat. It's going to be riveting and exciting today.
Good morning, Commissioner. It is our monthly update for projects. And just a reminder, this is not an all-inclusive list of projects or initiatives underway by county departments. This is a hot list of items underway of most importance to the Commission, our citizens, or administration. With that, we will begin with an update to the animal control facility. Core borings were obtained, analysis was provided, and staff is working with Commissioner Rawls to prepare a draft RFQ to solicit engineer architectural services. The Department of Health on the COVID initiative front, DOH continues to work on the COVID response. Curative is now set up on Husson Avenue, the testing site, to provide PCR testing Tuesday to Saturday from 9 to 5, no appointment necessary. The Department of Health is offering Pfizer and Moderna vaccines at the Health Department Monday through Friday from 9 to 3 p.m. They also do community vaccination pods at various locations as scheduled. They're also offering student PCR testing at the Health Department from Monday to Thursday, 8:30 to 4:30, and on Friday from 8:30 to 2 by appointment only. The Department of Health is also finishing up an interior building renovation project. The construction is substantially complete. The certificate of completion was issued on 8/19 of 21. The library has the Melrose Library expansion project underway. Construction has begun. HVAC and electrical inspections have been passed. Doors are on the way. Temporary windows will be installed soon. Permanent windows have been delayed. Brickwork appears to be complete. The soffit will be installed. The fascia will be painted to match the soffit, and internal colors have been selected. Parks and Recreation has the Georgetown Park project. The relevant GIS data to process the various site characteristics has been gathered. A high-level site inventory regarding slope, topography, and hydrology has been performed. Development of the site design is currently in process. Prominent trees and other structures to inform the schematic design will be located this month. Staff has met with the consultant from UF this month for an update on progress and the opportunity to provide feedback on desired key features and elements. A preliminary conceptual design is being drafted to incorporate those key elements, and additional work on the remaining management plan objectives is in progress. The Flora Home Park Historic Building Renovation Project is underway. The rough electrical is complete. An account for electrical services has been established with Clay Electric. Preparation of the building exterior for painting is nearly complete. Paint has been purchased. Painting community work day was canceled due to COVID, and they plan to hire painters. Installation of the front interior doors is complete. Exterior side doors and 3 interior doors have been ordered. The well driller has been selected. The health department and the well driller have met on site and selected the location for the well. They are still waiting on installation of the septic system. They are preparing to begin construction of the exterior porches and completion of the interior. The Flora Home Fall Heritage Festival is scheduled for October 16th, 2021, and all proceeds from that event will be going to the clubhouse project. The planning department has the comprehensive plan underway. Staff continues to work on addressing the comments sent to the county by the Department of Economic Opportunity. Addressing the comments requires ongoing staff research, additional language to be incorporated into the comp plan elements, and editing of the comp plan maps. Once the changes are made, staff will bring the comp plan before the Board of County Commissioners for final review and adoption. The building department has the CitizenServe online permitting project underway. CitizenServe is still undergoing data migration and integration. The go-live date is expected by the end of October. Public Works has the Fort Gate Landing. A construction proposal has been awarded, and the anticipated start date of construction is October 15th, 2021. Public Works Barton Bridge project update. Construction is still underway. However, Phase 1 has been completed, and the previous weight restrictions have been removed. Final completion is anticipated by the end of November 2021. Public Works has Lake Susan Road Phase 2 underway. Construction is also substantially complete. The change order 3 was approved, and the anticipated total completion date is November 17, 2021. St. John's Avenue resurfacing palmed to the CSX crossing at the Palatka Fire Department. The 100% design plans have been submitted to FDOT for review and approval. Construction is anticipated to begin by December 2021. County Road 310 bridge rehabilitation. Final permitting activities are underway, and bids for construction will begin after the permits are obtained. Septic to sewer conversion Phase 2. The contractor has ordered the required materials, and construction is anticipated to start September 29th, 2021. Completion of the project is anticipated to be April 2022. Septic to sewer conversion Phase 3. The completely executed funding agreement has been obtained from the Water Management District. Public Works is currently working on compiling the bid documents for the project and obtaining the required utility easements. Sawyer, Salem, and Bowl Green Drainage Project. The bid documents for construction activities has been advertised. Bids are due October 12th. Dirt to pave 2020. Silver Beach Boulevard, Magnolia, North Beach Street, Cypress Point Circle, Lakeview Trail, Twin Lakes Boulevard, Cinnamon Drive are all complete. Paving activities on Hunter Road and College Road are complete, and final punch list items are being addressed. All remaining roads are scheduled to be completed by December 2021. East Putnam Drainage and Flooding Mitigation. Phase 1 construction activities are scheduled to begin September 29th, 2021. Phase 2 construction activities are complete. Phase 3 bid documents are underway and anticipated to be advertised by end of October 2021. St. John's Avenue drainage improvements, State Road 19 to County Road 309C. Engineer design services and advertisement for construction activities are scheduled to be completed by January 2022. St. John's Avenue multi-use trail, the change order is still being reviewed by FDOT for consideration to provide Putnam County with additional funding. Once a decision has been made by FDOT, the change order will be presented to the BOCC for execution. FDOT will provide the county with concurrence to begin construction after the change order has been approved. Countywide drainage improvements, the bids were received August 16th and are under review. A recommendation to award is scheduled to be presented at the October 12th BOCC meeting. South Palm Sidewalk, Druid Street to Silver Lake Drive. The signed funding agreement has been sent to FDOT for execution. Once the completely executed agreement has been obtained, the project will be advertised for construction. Saratoga Harbor drainage projects, the permit requirements have been completed. Bid documents for construction activities are underway. James A. Long Elementary and Jenkins Middle School safe routes to school. 100% design plans are under review by FDOT. Fiscal year 21 road resurfacing project. Resurfacing of Dorlight Road, Swan Lake Drive, Carlin Road, Old Louis Lacka, Wirtz, Live Oak Street, Bear Boulevard, and Bryant Avenue are now complete. The remaining road locations are scheduled to be completed by October 29, 2021. County Road 315 resurfacing project. RFQ 2130 has been issued. This will secure the engineering for the project. The submittals are due October 22nd. Cell 4A construction out at the Sanitation Division. Cell 4A construction continues to move forward. The south side leachate connection is complete. The electrical is in for the leachate pumps. The liner is ready to be put into place as soon as the subgrade is ready. The completion date is looking like mid-October due to the rain that we've had since the 1st of June. This concludes my project update.
Found that riveting, didn't you? Thank you, Julianne. There's a lot going on in the county, and that's why it's important for us to let our citizens know that, and we appreciate it. So thank you very much. The septic was installed yesterday in Flora Home. So that's moving faster and faster out there for that project. So thank you. Okay, our next item on our agenda is 9:05. It's actually 9:16. Public hearing, Planning and Development Services. Item A, Planning and Development Services zoning map amendment from residential 2 to ag, case number R21014. Wendy, you're already at the microphone. Good.
This is an ordinance of the County of
I
Putnam,
don't-
State of
it's not
Florida,
on.
amending the official zoning
Wendy,
map.
it's not on. There's another one over here.
Ordinance 2021-29, an ordinance of the County of Putnam, State of Florida, amending the official zoning map for the Putnam County Incorporated into Article 2 of the Putnam County Land Development Code, Ordinance 2005-18, providing for severability and effective date, case number R21-014. This is an application from Whitney and Michael Davis for a zoning map amendment for a single parcel from residential 2 to agriculture. The property is located at 229 Poinciana Drive, Interlochen. The parcel is designated Ag 1 on the future land use map. The parcel is 4.69 acres in size, has approximately 327 feet of frontage on Poinciana. There are no known wetlands or special flood hazard area in the area, and the parcel is currently vacant. This is the aerial of the parcel, the future land use, and the current zoning. The surrounding zoning is R2. Staff finds that the proposed rezoning to ag is consistent with the comprehensive plan, consistent with locational requirements for ag zoning, compatible with the surrounding uses. Staff recommends approval of the request amending the zoning map from R2 to agriculture for the subject parcel. On August 11, 2021, the Putnam County Planning Commission voted 6-0 to recommend approval to the BOCC. I'm here for questions and
you.
also as the applicant.
Commissioners, any questions for Ms. Wendy?
Not at this time.
Okay, we'll move on. Is the applicant here in the room? Would you like to come up and speak?
Well, how are you doing?
Please state your
All
name.
right.
State your name and address for the record.
What was that?
State your name and address for the record.
Michael Davis, 229 Poinciana Drive, Interlochen, Florida, 32148. We wanted to switch to agricultural because I already got my well installed, I got my electric turned on, and we're wanting to plant fruit trees on the whole front of the property line. And my wife runs a construction business, and I'm on disability. So I'm just at home all day long dealing with my kids and nothing else to do, so I wanted to plant a whole bunch of fruit trees so it gives me something to do. Also, we're wanting to do a well house big enough to put solar panels on it, because I'm going to convert my well to solar panels so that I ain't burning up a whole bunch of electricity trying to run my sprinkler systems for all the fruit trees. We plan on planting anywhere from 150 to 200 fruit trees.
Okay.
And then we're eventually going to put a house on it closer to the back, and then a little shop so my wife can have all the business equipment and all that back there. And we're just asking that we that we can get approved to convert the land to agricultural so that we can do our fruit trees. There's nothing out there. I know the guy that owns 5 acres across from me. He bought it for his 3-year-old grandchild, so when he gets older, he can build a house. And land beside me, the lady bought it, and she's saving it for her children, her grandchildren, and they're like 11 and 12. So I have one neighbor on the other side of us that he's all for it. He said his wife, before she passed away, used to do a nursery in their land in the back. So he's all for it. He's encouraged me to go for it and do it, and it gives me something to do. So we're just asking that y'all would be able to approve this so that we can get it up and going, because I already have like 60 fruit trees on the way, and they'll be here in December.
I have a few questions for you. Is that your primary residence?
Well, that's what we have as our primary. We're actually from Texas.
Are you living there now as your primary residence?
No, we come down like every other weekend, but we started converting stuff because my disability and I pay child support. And my mom's in the process of selling her house, so she wanted everybody just to get all their mail and everything. So we have a P.O. box that we use just for like important stuff and everything.
Okay.
Now that we have electricity, the post office, and there was already a mailbox on the property when we purchased it. And the post office said once we had the electric and all that, then they could start delivering out there. So we're switching everything out there.
I have a few more questions for you. Do you take your campers that you have sitting on the property off every weekend?
We sold one of them, and the other one that we just purchased is for when because my wife works for investors and all that, and we travel. So when we take off for the kids, we homeschool our kids when we have to leave, but they'll send us like to Tennessee or Georgia, and so that we bought the secondary camper so that we could take it out there. I have trailers and all kinds of stuff out there because my mom's house isn't that big, and then they've been having us work around Florida and Georgia a lot lately.
All right. When I went out there, my question was if you don't have a septic out there. So how do you dump your travel trailers?
There's a RV park on 20 right up there.
Cooper Lake?
They let us dump for free.
Okay. And do you haul garbage out to the road now?
Yes, whenever we have.
But you're not paying a waste fee for that?
Yes, it's on our, we take it out to with the neighbors, because he told us just put all our trash out there with the neighbors,
Okay.
with his.
And the 4x4s that are lining our county road, how did that get there?
We're having issues with the grader.
But that's our road, and that's our right-of-way.
Well, we was told we could line them up 20 feet from the property line down to keep him from digging into the driveway.
No, sir. Where you fenced is your property. Outside of that fence is our property. They need to come up, okay?
All righty.
You got a long.
He comes past the mailbox.
We'll straighten that out, but yeah, you can't do that, okay?
Yes,
All
because
right,
we've
Mr.
already talked with Nelda about it, and she keeps saying, well, he's allowed to come all the way up to the fence. And I was like, no, because he's digging into our driveway and causing washouts.
But there is no driveway permit there either.
Oh, it was pre-existing when we bought the land.
But there's
so-
got to be a driveway permit. So, Mr. Rawls?
Kind of along the same line of questioning, you're going to be living here eventually. It sounds like you're moving from Texas. This is going to be your permanent homestead.
Yes.
I have 3.5 acres that's zoned residential. I can plant 200 trees on my property if I wanted to. There's nothing that precludes you from doing that right this second. You don't have to switch to agricultural to landscape your property, whether it's with fruit-bearing trees or just anything you want to plant. Me personally, it sounds to me like this is more of an end road around, and you're running a company off the property as well. It sounds like. I personally would not be in favor of approving this for those reasons. I think that you're going to end up having this as residential anyways. It's already residential. I would be in favor of just leaving the way it is now. you would be the donut hole in the middle of a bunch of R2 residential if we changed it.
Well, I do know at the end of our street, at the very end, like if you're on our property and you in, I'm assuming they're already agricultural. They got horses and stuff out there. So I was assuming they're agricultural, and everybody was gonna slowly switch to agricultural. So we're wanting to switch to agricultural just to get processed with
But
it.
you got houses on both sides of you.
Yeah, one's got a hole in it, had a hole in it for over 5 years, caught fire 5 or 6 years ago, and it's been that way. And Joyce Davis, which lives on Ponciana, just purchased it.
But
She was
you're currently residing on the property part-time and collecting trash and putting trash out. And the only way that you pay the trash is if you actually have a house on there that you're able to live in. So you're one of the people I complain about. I do a lot of complaining about people that come in here and don't pay taxes and don't pay for services. But if you picked your phone up and dialed 911, guess what would show up? Police, fire, and rescue. So I personally would be a no vote on this one.
Thank you, Mr. Rawls. Mr. Turner, you have the floor.
A lot of what I was going to say, Commissioner Rawls covered. But a lot of the things Mr. Davis just explained to us that he's planning on doing just isn't legal.
I didn't want to go there, but yeah.
You can't run a business from a residential area, whether it's ag or not. You can't without having a special exception, I believe is the case.
Yeah, we're working on all that.
Okay, but the problem I'm having with this is you're living there part-time in a travel trailer, which is not allowed in residential or ag unless you're building a house. And then if you're building a house, you have to ask permission, and you have to have full facilities to the trailer. You can't just put the travel trailer in there and live in it, dump the gray water on the ground or do whatever. You just can't do any of that. So I'm having a lot of heartburn with this for that reason, is that it seems to me like all we're doing is setting up a code case on that we already have a code case. I'm probably the biggest advocate in this room about everybody should be able to do with their property what they want to, but only if that's within the rules. Only if that's within the rules that all of us have to live by. So I'm having a hard time with this one myself, just for that reason. Is just that travel trailers there, you're living in it on a weekend, you're living in it without proper facilities in place.
We were explained that as long as we, like on the weekends, and then we move it, and then that was fine. We only if we were there
I don't even believe
permanently.
you're allowed to camp. I have to look at Mr. Siafi back there and ask him, but I don't believe you're even allowed to camp
The only
on your
time
piece
that-
of property unless you have the proper zoning in place, the proper facilities in place and what have you. And I don't think Putnam County allows camping except in campgrounds or places that are associated with campgrounds or RMH district, mobile home district parks or RV parks or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not like some of the other counties around at this time that you can just park a travel trailer on your property and stay there without permission. Our ordinance just doesn't allow it that I'm aware of unless you're building a house, I
Yeah, we
think.
were explaining that if you're building and all that, you can get a 6-month permit. But if I'm just coming down on the weekends and all that, and I leave afterwards, then I didn't need a permit. Because we had asked about all that before.
Who explained that to you?
I called the permit, the department.
So the
Their
building
department.
department explained to you that you didn't need a permit or anything to stay in a travel trailer on a piece of property out in the woods, and that you
Just
could do
as long as I
that?
was only coming down on the weekends and doing some clearing, and I was leaving and taking it with me, then I didn't need one.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I can clarify that point. So anyone in a residential district is permitted to have an RV for temporary occupancy for up to 14 days. But after those 14 days, they have to remove the RV.
Okay,
And it has to be self-contained.
Okay.
okay. So it is an allowable use, in other words, as
Yes,
long as
sir.
they only use it with less than 14 days at a time. Now, if he puts it there 14 days, and then does he have to take it off for another 14 days, or does it just take it off for an hour, run it up to the RV park, dump his take, bring it back for 14 days?
No, it's, so he would have to take it, it's not 14 days that he has to take it off for, but it's meant to be just temporary. So he can have it on there for a maximum of 180 non-consecutive days. So however however the property owner would arrange that would be up to the property owner, but it cannot extend past 14 consecutive days.
I think we're gonna make some changes in that when the new land development code comes, and probably make it more lenient than what it even is now perhaps. But it's not just wondering how it is right now. We can't do it like we wish it was. We have to do it like it is right now. And so, okay, so at what point, I guess I don't know who to ask this question to. It may be you, Mr. Suggs, or you, Gabriel, I'm not sure, chime in. At what point does it trip the threshold, if he's staying there on weekends and what have you, that he has to pay a solid waste assessment? Because if he's putting his trash out with the neighbors, that ain't right either. I have to pay a solid waste assessment. I know I live at my place, but I haven't put a bag of garbage side the road once ever. I have a dumpster.
Yes, sir.
So, I think everybody that comes in, if they're gonna utilize the system, needs to pay a solid waste assessment.
Let's take a look at the solid waste ordinance, how it's drafted, and see if there's a provision within the code to address that, and we'll certainly look at that. And if it needs to be amended, we can do that. But I think what I also heard from Mr. Quintez is that even though it may be an option to be on the property for a period of time, but it's also required to be self-contained. Is that what I heard? Which this one doesn't appear to be self-contained.
You good, Mr. Turner?
I'm good for now,
Okay,
thank you.
Mr. Pickens and then Mr. Ross.
Yeah, Gabriel, who monitors that 14 days and the 128 non-consecutive days? Who's going to monitor that?
So it would be the code enforcement department who would have to monitor it, but we have so many instances of it throughout the county that it's just not feasible to go around the county and monitor all of them. So
Okay, so this is allowable in residential zoning as it is?
the RV, but just as a reminder, we're not trying to bring the RV into compliance here at all. This is, the only reason that staff recommended approval on this case was because the future land use map calls for agricultural land use out here. So any nonconformities would not be brought into conformity with this rezoning.
Okay, so if we were to move this to agricultural, okay, so he could plant fruit trees or whatever, or agricultural purposes, right?
Yes,
So he
sir.
could be operating a business on there with no requirement to have potable water and/or proper restroom or septic tank facilities.
No, sir, no, that's not. So the only business that he could operate out of a residential district is a home-based business. And state law has recently preempted our local ordinance, so we can't even require a special use permit at this point because of the state law that went into effect in June. So the state law does set parameters, though, and it does have to be accessory to the residence, and there has to be a residence on there. An RV would not qualify as a residence for the purposes of a home-based business.
Okay, but he's trying to rezone this to agricultural.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if we decide to move this forward to zone it to agricultural, what's his situation with having to have a septic tank on almost 5 acres that would produce citrus trees, which somebody has to come in and spray them, somebody has to come in and pick the fruit, sell the fruit, with no restroom facilities, no septic tank, anything like that?
I'm not aware of any requirement for a farm itself. If it's just a standalone farm with no residence, I don't think that there's a requirement for a restroom. If he had some other home-based business, he probably would be required, or I know he would be required to have a restroom. Just to clarify also, on residential land, so as the land stands now, he can plant fruit trees on there. And he can harvest fruit trees. The issue here was the accessory structure. The applicant has has a non-permitted accessory structure that exceeded a threshold. I think it was 150 square. That's right. Okay, yes. The application came in and we couldn't approve it because it exceeded the threshold in the residential zoning district. So in agriculture, if you have over 2.5 acres, you can have the one building without a residence. That's right. Sorry. Blanking out. Yes.
Okay, that's all I got right now.
Mr. Rawls?
Because I'm wanting to,
Mr. Davis, hang on a second. Mr. Rawls?
So I guess what is the advantage of going from residential to commercial? And because everything you've described, you can do on the property as it sets right now.
well, with the way that the land is, it was like at the last hearing that we had, the land, the way it's, the sizes and everything, to be able to do the amount of fruit trees, to do my well house with the solar panels and all that, and the house, it's within the proper zoning, it's not big enough. If I go agricultural, it'll give it the clearance that I need to be able to plant the amount of fruit trees and be able to expand, because,
So why not just,
It's not about fruit trees.
Yeah,
it's about-
Yeah, it's about the building.
well,
Yeah,
it's the
that's
building
what
and
it
the
sounds
fruit
like.
trees, because all of it was
It's
in
about the
motion to
building.
do together, was the fruit trees and the well house.
how many
and the
watts are you looking to
solar.
generate off this well house?
Huh?
How many watts do you need to generate off the well house?
The solar well, the pump and all that will run off of 16 solar panels and 12 batteries to store it like on cloudy days and
Yeah,
all
but
that.
how many watts are we talking?
300, each solar panel is running off of 380 watts.
4,800 watts?
Huh?
4,800 watts then?
Yeah,
Okay.
close to that.
Mr. Rawls,
I-
he's got a 200 amp service out there already. Electrical service.
Yeah.
We had to test the well
Right.
because we have a 300-gallon holding tank.
I get
And
it.
we had to test the well to get the proper size solar system for it to be able to run the amount of fruit trees. And so what we did was, once we got the power on, we ran the water just to let it run at the time frames of what our timers and all that would be at to water
But you don't,
everything.
to be honest with you, you don't need a building to put up solar panels.
Well, the electronics for the solar panel system is not waterproof, and you gotta be able to protect the.
You don't need more than 144 square feet to put in 12 batteries and some inverters.
16 You wanna keep the batteries and.
I'm
the
very familiar with
electronics.
this. I do it for a living, so,
Yeah.
what I'm saying is that you could easily contain that in a 150 square foot building for agricultural purposes, like you're talking about. You don't have to put the panels on the roof, but if you're only talking 16 panels,
We all had to put it on the south side to be able to get the
Yeah.
full function of it, so to make it big enough to hold 16 panels,
I just, my gut tells me that we're better off leaving this as agricultural. I think you'll be
Residential.
fine where you are, or residential rather, you'll be fine where you are. You still have room to place the panels, you still have room to put your equipment, and you'll be able to plant all the fruit trees you want. But I agree with Commissioner Turner, and if you watch the videotape and look at my face when you said my wife wants to run her business out of here, I cringed. And that, you're setting yourself up for a code case at that point. So I would caution you there, because
Well,
you
the
can't
only
run,
thing-
and I can't run my construction company out of my house either. So I'm,
I mean, the only thing, because she does travel for investors and all that, so it's a lot of traveling. The only thing that would basically be on the property would be like any equipment, tools. And as far as
yeah.
anybody coming to the house to request service, they don't do that because we don't work for residential.
I would be cautious of how you dig your ditch, so you're digging it deep.
Thank you, Mr. You done, Mr. Rawls? Okay, good. Mr. Turner?
Like I said earlier, there's nobody that believes in that somebody ought to be able to do something with their property, but they got to do it within the rules. And so what we're doing now is we're taking a piece of R2 property, or you're asking us to take a piece of R2 property that the use that you're requesting to use it for. Fruit trees has nothing to do with this. I'm telling you, you can plant all the fruit trees on there you want without a change in zoning. I'm just telling you. The only thing you're wanting to do is build a building that's not allowed in R2, and there's reasons for that. The reasons is that you can't go in there and build a giant building, and then all of a sudden you're living inside the giant building, and without without it being an accessory structure. I mean, there's reasons that the county can't allow that to happen. So I'm having a lot of heartburn over this because I feel like that everything that you're asking us to do, if you're even trying to not read between the lines, but you can't help it, is number one, if you get this zoning, you can go there and live there whenever you want to, because nobody's gonna be watching you unless there's a complaint made by somebody, because that's how our codes works around here. It needs to be a complaint made. So we're basically, if we pass this, we're saying that in my opinion, we're saying that we're allowed with it. It's okay with us if you go out there and stay in your travel trailer with no facilities and hook into your electric and water that you have now. And if you're needing solar, you can put your panels out on stands. I see it every day. I mean, I'm not a solar expert, but I see that you don't have to mount them on top of a building.
Don't have
So
to.
I don't see any advantage to having this other than you're wanting a building that you can't have in a residential area. Am I missing something?
When I called zoning and all that, and was speaking with the one lady, and I told her about fruit trees, she says you can't build fruit trees in an R2. That's what started this whole thing, because
I don't believe that was accurate.
I
I
had
don't know.
already
I think
planted-
you can plant all the fruit trees you want to.
I had
Fruit
already
trees,
planted
pine
4.
trees, whatever kind of trees you want in a residential area. I don't think you can have an accessory structure that is in fact not an accessory structure, because you have no existing structure there for it to be an accessory to. So
See, I had called and asked, when I first called them, I had asked them, told them the size of the building, what I was gonna do with it, planting my fruit trees and everything, and the one lady says, I don't see a problem with that. So then I came in and I got requested my permit and all that, and I spoke with another lady, and she was like, oh, well, you can't plant fruit trees in an R2. And she says, we can try to do your permit for the building, but I don't see it happening. And I was like, wait a minute. I had called in advance because I ordered the building online when I was told that they didn't see a problem in it. And I had ordered the building and already had started ordering fruit trees. I even bought a few at the store and planted some. And then I'm being told different when I came in to pull my permits.
Mr.
So
Davis.
then I was like, you know what, forget this. I'll just switch it to
Mr. Davis, not to,
agricultural.
we've heard this, so we need to kind of move on if you don't mind. This is a public hearing, so Mr. Turner, you still have the floor, sir.
I don't believe you can have an accessory structure unless, even with a special exception, can you? Or can you in a residential area with a special exception?
No, sir, unless it's adjacent to a lot that already has a primary use structure, you can.
Yeah, there has to be a primary before you can have an accessory. Could you have a standalone building in a residential area with a special use permit?
No, sir.
Non-allowable, okay. So the problem I'm having with it is I'm not a fan of what I'm fixing to say, the term spot zoning, but if there ever was one, this is it. When you got a piece of ag that you're fixing to stick in front of a higher use, so you're gonna downgrade one parcel in a residential area where somebody can build a building that for good reason they can't build when it's in a residential area. I always have a great difficulty going against a vote on the planning commission, a great difficulty, because I trust those people to do the right thing. But I'm having trouble with this one, guys. I really am. I'm having a lot of trouble with it because for the biggest reason is I think you're taking a higher residential zoning and all the lots around it are zoned that, and you're downgrading the zoning to ag to allow something that is not allowed for good reason in the residential area. So I don't think I'm gonna be able to support this, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Thank you for coming up. I do have to open it up to the public for any yay or nay, so thank you for coming. Is there anybody here that would like to speak in favor of this application? And anybody opposed to this application? Okay, we're going to close the public hearing. And Commissioners, what's your pleasure on this item?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we reject the applicants.
Proper motion by Commissioner Rawls to reject the application.
I'll second it.
Proper second by Commissioner Turner. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. Thank you. All right, next item on our agenda is public comments on agenda items. If anybody would like to come up, there is a 3-minute time limit, and we'd love to hear from you on our consent agenda. Okay. Okay. All right, seeing nobody here for the public comment on agenda items, we're going to take a 3-minute break. Back to order, and there was no public comment on consent agenda items. Going to our consent agenda, I'll start to my far left. Commissioner Rawls, is there any items you'd like to pull?
I have none.
Commissioner Pickens?
I have none.
Commissioner Turner?
Item L.
L. And I have none, so the chair will entertain a motion on the remaining items.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we pass the consent agendas, item A through Z with the exception of L.
A through O with the exception of L.
I'll
Okay.
second.
Proper motion, proper second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Pose like sign. The ayes have it. Commissioner Turner, you pulled item L.
Yes, I just wanted to take this opportunity more than anything else and say, I'm not wanting to say anything about not hiring these people. I think they do a wonderful job and all that. I think and I know that staff's working on it some. So we've got to start a safety program and a loss run control program in this county. I mean a serious one too. I know that y'all are working on possibly cutting out the sheriff's department and doing their own if that would be a better rate, or I know you're working on all that, and I appreciate you doing it, I really do, but I didn't want to miss this opportunity to say that we've got to own this. If we don't, if it keeps going like it's going right now, that is the one driving factor that's going to drive this county into financial ruin, because it's getting worse every year. I think that we've got, I know that we have a safety director, I know all that, but I'm telling you, we need a full-blown safety program in the different departments. Public Works, EMS, the Sheriff's Department is gonna have to get on board with this. We're gonna have to figure out a way to control our loss runs where right now they're not being done. I've seen this scenario in the past. I've seen it, and it can be fixed, but it takes some effort, and we just can't stick our head in the sand on this issue any longer. We've got to start doing our very best to control the loss runs on workers' comp. I know that health insurance has been a real big issue for us lately, and not lately, for years, but workers' comp somehow kind of just falls by the wayside here and there. We've got to come up with a certified safety program. You know, big companies have it to where we haven't had an accident in so many days. We have safety training. I know that the Sheriff's Department already has plenty of training or not plenty, but a lot of training for teaching them how to drive and teaching them how to do the right thing in the right instance or whatever. You know, so I'm not an expert in actually how to put the program together, but we need to figure out a way to make it to where we can put a program together to further this and help you guys out. Maybe we need to hire a safety consultant if y'all don't already have one. I'm sorry, Joe, I haven't asked you yet, but you know, or JR or Mike Troxel or the different ones. Maybe we need to get a safety consultant to come in that does this for a living and pay him to come up with or him or her to come up with a program that would help us implement some kind of a loss control program before this gets any further out of hand. I don't want to say before it gets out of hand. Hell, it's already out of hand. We need to not get any further out of hand. So, Mr. Chairman, that's all I had on that issue.
Okay, Mr. Rawls, you have a comment?
No, I agree with what Commissioner Turner is saying, and I'm glad he pulled this for discussion because, you know, job site safety is a culture. It's not a thing, and it's not something that you can talk about one time and then let it go. And he's right. When you look at some of the larger companies, they take, and we are a large company, by the way. So if we don't take this seriously, we are going to be subject to a lot of strains and sprains that are soft tissue that are hard to identify that pay out a lot. I mean, you worked in that area. I think it does make us setting targets, but if you know, we're in the process now of engaging the employees regarding health insurance, and I think this would be a real easy thing to fit in at the same time. I'm in favor of paying the consultant to get us through this next year, but I think that we really need to start focusing energies to getting the employees to be part of the solution. And I'm sure if we sat down and talked with them, they would tell us that they could work smarter and not harder, and they could work with less strains and pains, but we're going to have to get behind them, obviously, at some point, and put the money out to be able to make their job site safer. But I think this is something that really could come back and bite us in the end if we're not careful.
Chair will entertain a motion on
Chairman, I
item.
move that we pass item L on the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Proper motion by Commissioner Turner, proper second by Commissioner Rawls. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The ayes have it. Mr. Clerk of the Court, the Honorable Matt Reynolds.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have nothing to discuss today.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Appointments start to my far right. Mr. Turner, you have any appointments?
I have none today, sir.
Mr. Pickens.
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Anna Cruz for the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board.
Anna Cruz. All right,
That's a District 1. You just
District 1
appoint
appointment,
them.
yeah.
good deal. Mr. Rawls.
I have none.
And I have none either. Okay, so that's taken care of. County Administrator, Mr. Suggs.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Board. Just a couple quick things is, one is we're going through the process of filling out the required agreements with the Army Corps of Engineers, putting the names into place that need to be and getting all the information put in so we can submit that back to them for review. We'll be bringing that to you as soon as it's gone through the process so we can get this thing moving and continue moving forward on that. Also wanted to update you that we've
That's the part when you're in trial and I got to confer with my attorney.
I also just wanted to continue the discussion, let you know that we're continuing to work through the potential purchase of property over off of Comfort Road.
Yep.
And and an interesting thing happened last Wednesday night. I think it's worthy to share, especially since we're sitting here today talking about potential training and being safe and doing the things that we need to do for our staff. On 2 occasions now, one as recent as last Wednesday night, the wife and I were driving home, coming over the bridge, and I see a fire truck, 2 ambulances, and the chief's vehicle at about, sitting by the road at Veterans Park. Well, coming over the bridge, when you see all that, the first thing you think of is, oh my God, what has happened? So I turned in to just kind of see where we were, what was going on, if any assistance I could offer, but what they were doing was nighttime training. And they were doing that during the night, not only because it's a benefit to learn how to do these things at night, but also their call log has been so heavy throughout the day, they hadn't been able to get training in during the day. So they took it upon themselves to go out there at 8 o'clock at night to do some training. And, I just want to give a shout out to Public Safety Director Grimes for that and the crews that were doing it. Like I said, that's the second time I'm coming down 207 and I see a fire truck backed up to the lake on 207. Like, oh my goodness, what's going on with the ambulance there? And they were training on a Saturday. And these are the things that they are doing, and there are options available to us out there, Commissioner Turner. We'll look at all of them. I'm sure the Sheriff's Office has a training available, maybe the Association of Counties. I know the League of Cities does it, so we'll reach out to any and all organizations to get training in here, because you're absolutely right. We got to get a handle on this one. But, Mr. Chairman, that's all I got, but I just want to give kudos to those folks for doing that training on their own the way they have been doing it, so thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Suggs. Mr. Commando.
I have nothing to add today, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner comments, starting to my far left, Mr. Rawls.
I just want to bring up the fact that, we had our sheriff's deputies, some of them were working up in Nassau County because of a sheriff's deputy that was shot in line of duty, and it just it hits real close to home, literally, when this happens. And, I want our citizens to be aware of the fact that the people that do put on uniforms that are public servants, whether they're in the military or police, fire, and rescue, they do have dangerous jobs. They are targets at times for their own people. And I just want to say that my wife and I, we both had conversations about, we're pretty grief-stricken. We don't even know the family of the people that it happened to. And then yesterday I'm talking to somebody and find out that I actually do know somebody that's a family member of the person that was shot. you know, Commissioner Amzak's family's going through some trying times with a family member, and just want to ask everybody to keep them in their prayers. Otherwise, I think, you know, we're going to finish the budget season up today, get started with a new budget year. We've got a lot of ground to cover. I'm hoping we continue our conversation sooner than later regarding alternative funding sources so we can start tackling some of the tougher issues that we've got ahead of us. This is year 1 of 5 for our $15 an hour minimum wage, and it starts next week. Or I guess actually this week. Better part of this week, yeah. So that's all I got.
Thank you, Mr. Ault. Mr. Pickens?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman Harvey. Yeah, definitely keep Commissioner Adamczak and his family in prayers with what they're dealing with an ill family member. Mike Troxel, I'd like to call you out.
Poor Mike.
In a very positive way. My wife and I left Thursday to go to the mountains for a quick, short vacation, and I got a text from Administrator Suggs that there was a culvert that was coming apart on Georgetown Denver Road, which is in my district on my way home, actually. And to fill you in a little bit, the water had come across the road to the point where I had Mike put, water on road signs on both sides coming and going. And they went and did a little extra research to try to get, to see how they could move that water. And because it's been over the road for about a month, and they found a culvert. So they cleaned the culvert out. So I guess when you clean a culvert out and it's not in good shape, it comes apart. So they went out on, was it Friday afternoon, Mike? And they changed that culvert in about 4 hours. They finally finished up probably about 1 o'clock in the morning. The road is passable. The water is off of the road. And Mike, I just want to thank you and Public Works, all the people who were involved in that, for a great job and just an emergency situation. So thank you so much. I may have some complaints about some things in the transportation meeting, but anyway, I'll give you kudos for that. So thank you very much. Just want to announce that the 28th Annual Swine and Wine, hosted by the Crescent City Rotary Club, is Saturday, October 2nd from 6 to 11. You can purchase tickets. You can call my parts store, 698-2002, for tickets. I just want to go ahead and thank Larry Harvey, Buddy Goddard. I'm sure Commissioner Rawls will be involved, but the Interlocking Club and also the Palaca Sunrise Club and possibly some from the Palaca Noon Rotary Club for helping us put this barbecue on. Larry will do all of the cooking, and the other clubs will help with serving. So it's a good event. Tickets are $60 a piece, so I just want to make that announcement. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Turner?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The reason that the culvert was fixed so fast down in District 1 because they didn't have to move in any equipment. It was already down there.
It just keeps on coming, doesn't it?
I knew I left myself open for that.
I'd like to say that I appreciate the deal that we started last year of having the project updates, because that really helps me as a commissioner keep track of where we are on a lot of different issues. It's not that we can't go in and sit down. I do it frequently, but sometimes you just can't remember every project to ask questions on and get an update. So I appreciate that, and I hope we can continue that once a month like we do. The other thing that last year, towards the end of the budget year, we had an additional amount of money show up that we didn't assume was coming. Has that money showed up yet?
Not yet.
Okay, when does that happen? I mean, wasn't it in October or right about October when we had unanticipated income or something that we had show up and we were able to drop the millage rate a few percentage points?
If I remember correctly, it was after we had certified it to DOR, which would be after our Matt's.
It would be after the Value Adjustment Board has met and the roll is finalized by Mr. Parker. If it exceeds a certain threshold, a certain percentage threshold, that's when the board has the 3 days to administratively. It was probably around October 10th to the 12th, something like that. It was right after the last VAB meeting, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm really anticipating hopefully something like that happens again this year where we can perhaps take that additional money and try to reduce millage rates again this year like we were able to do last year at the end. I'd also like to say that, that during this year, the last multiple years, we've been trying to right some wrongs that have gone on in the county for quite some period of time. We've tried to give raises that weren't given in 11 years. We tried to do things. We're trying to right some wrongs, and I get it. But I think a lot of those are not completely right, but they're a lot closer. So I would like to start considering next year a way that we could start reducing the millage rate in this county on next year, at the end of next year. So I know that it's gonna take a team effort with all the constitutionals and everybody else, but I would like to start that conversation right now on how we can reduce the millage rate. Instead of having a 9.44044, whatever it is, we can get down around 9 or under, which is where we were, I think, when I took office, and they had to do that last minute. Within 3 weeks after taking office, they had to do a last minute vote that we, under those circumstances, had no other option other than to do it. I'd like to see us start trying to work ourselves back in that direction again, at least where we were back then. So I think that's all I have today, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. And I'd like to give a shout out to Public Works also, not only for the work you did Friday night, late into the night, but the mowing out in the west ends is looking much better. Even the backsides of the ditches in some areas that haven't been mowed in a long, long time, we're getting mowed. The Mighty Max thing that's mowing is just phenomenal. I was down in the Old Woods Road section the other day, on Saturday, and it's just amazing what that gentleman has done, or that person, I'm sorry, it could have been a lady, with that. I do want to caution the public that the MSBU grading contracts are being deciphered right now. MSBUs are very big in my district, but you're going to see a little weight there. So don't expect the grader to hit the road October 1, because it won't happen right now. But they'll get out there as soon as the contracts are issued and everything's worked out. And that's all I have. I
think they should try to make that a priority.
Yeah.
While you are more prevalent in the MSBUs, we all have one or two, and I think they need to make that a high priority on trying to get those contracts.
Yeah, we're working that out diligently, trust me.
Yes, sir.
And did talk to the gentleman on the redistricting, and he's looking forward to our October 5th. We got the information to him on the GIS system, and he's downloaded it, so he's excited to hear what we have to say. And that's going to be the end of my comments. I do want to open up the floor for any public comments on miscellaneous items, because we do have, that's going to happen again a little bit later. Thank you. Nicole Grace. It's always good to see your happy face. You do not have to have a blue card to speak if you want to speak.
Good morning. Nicole Grace with Keep Putnam Beautiful. That was fast. Who did that? With Keep Putnam Beautiful. I had 2 items with Keep Putnam Beautiful and 1 personal one, so I'll be very fast. I wrote it down. I just wanted to note the international cleanup for 2021 to encourage more individual and smaller cleanups. It has been extended through December, so it's a longer time period. And please contact Keep Putnam Beautiful for supplies, or if you have someone that's interested in partnering. Thank you, Larry Harvey, for the email. I did get it. We're on Facebook, keepputnambeautiful@gmail.com, and 386-325-9598. Also on Saturday, Keep Putnam Beautiful is partnering with Waterworks Environmental Center, IFAS Horticultural Agent Julio Perez, and Bartram Trail Hikes at Waterworks. They're going to be having complimentary trail hikes with Billy Bartram. They're going to be having a demonstration garden about fall gardening. They're going to be giving away supplies and advice. It's made possible with the TD Green Space Grant through the city of Palatka, so it's free supplies for gardening if you want to try it out and see what they do. And last but not least, on my personal one, is there is a swim meet tonight over at the Putnam Aquatic Center, and we're really excited because we will have the new lane lines in place. So we're not only going to swim fast, we're going to look sharp as well. So I appreciate all of the work that y'all do, and especially as a parent of swimmers, in our county, we have a pool that we can swim in, and we really impress people when we come over. I noted we're just that darn nice, and people love coming over to our pool. So
What time's the swim meet, Nicole?
5 o'clock.
5
That's why I looked at the thing and I'm like, oh no, public comment at 5:05. Dang it.
You can run over there after our
Exactly.
5:05.
Aha.
Run over there, I promise.
Both my boys are
And
swimming.
not only does Nicole pick up garbage off out in the public outside, but last night, she was actually busting the tables at the Florida Farm Bureau dinner, and we appreciate your help there also.
Thank you. I'm 4-H, so
Thank
thank
you.
you very much.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nicole. Is there anybody else that would like to speak? All right, seeing none, this meeting will be recessed until 5:05.